Well, good day and welcome back to the Flying Doctor channel. In today's video, we're going to be border hopping again. But today we're going to be crossing the northern border or the southern border, depending on where you're looking at a map from. We're in Canada, we're heading back to the States. At least that is the goal, head back to the States. It's very snowy out. Conditions aren't great for flying. We'll see if we can actually get on our flight, headed over to LaGuardia. We'll be with Delta again. We're booked in their first class product. We'll see what it's like on the inside in an international flight, but it's on a CRJ. So if you're interested to see what Delta's first class product is on an international flight in a CRJ, sit back, relax, get ready for another flight review.
I was connecting from an Air Canada flight aboard a Dreamliner in business class. After one of my most memorable approaches, I disembarked and needed to walk over to the US-bound departure gates, which were located in a different terminal. If traveling from Toronto headed to the US, you'll pass through a US customs screening immediately after general security. Then, like most international airports, you get to walk through duty-free. I was in a rush to make it over to my gate since my arriving flight was delayed and boarding began as I was being screened at security. It was quite a mess and very busy inside the gate area. Looks like we'll be boarding the plane and facing the elements this evening as there aren't any jet bridges down here.
Well, things are a bit hectic around here at the airport. All things considered, that's to be expected because of all the snow. But I'm hoping that I do make my way to LaGuardia sometime today because I need to get home. Anyways, I'm at the gate. Did check out the Plaza Premium Lounge. It wasn't the best, but it also wasn't the worst. They had a decent selection of food. I was actually impressed with the food compared to some of the other lounges I've visited in the past. Again, it was really packed, as to be expected, just because of all the delays and cancellations of flights. So here's crossing my fingers to making my way over to LaGuardia today, and then onwards to Atlanta.
The scheduled aircraft for today's flight to LaGuardia is November 932 X-Ray Juliet.
Well, I made a judgment call and ended up rebooking myself on a flight that leaves tomorrow morning because it wasn't looking promising to get into LaGuardia on time to make the connecting flight down to Atlanta. So unfortunately, because it is weather related, that means I gotta pay out of pocket for a hotel tonight. I guess those are the risks that you take when you book multiple flights on different airlines, back to back to back. Learning lesson. Either way, we're gonna stand out here in the cold, get a bit of refreshing air, find some food, and we'll be back here at the same airport at the ass crack of dawn.
Turns out I made a smart move in rebooking myself for the next morning's flight because the hotel prices were going through the roof as more and more flights were canceled. A few short hours of sleep later and I was back on the shuttle bus headed to the airport.
Oh, we're back into Toronto Pearson Airport, and hopefully today we have better luck in getting back to Atlanta. Got a tip off from an older couple that the lounge is not open until 5:30, so as they said, no free food. Guess we'll just head down to the gate, explore what the terminal in this somewhat segregated part of the airport is like, and maybe find a bite to eat. Canada. USA. It's the glass divide that separates Canada from the USA, essentially. If you're flying back to the States in Toronto, you'll end up going through a designated area for US passengers or US departing flights, which I hope I don't have to go through customs in Atlanta, but we'll find out.
If you're an av geek, you're probably aware of the multiple aviation-related incidents this year. The aircraft scheduled to take me over to LaGuardia last night did end up getting there safely, albeit quite late. The following day, it made a trip to Minneapolis and then back over to Toronto, where upon landing, The right landing gear appears to have collapsed, leading to the aircraft rolling over and coming to a rest upside down. While I was not scheduled to be on that exact flight, that aircraft was meant to take me to LaGuardia last night. These sorts of circumstances end up stirring the old what-if pot and can remind you of the fragility of life. 21 of the 80 souls on board sustained injuries and, miraculously, all survived. No view of this morning's aircraft, but it is a special one. November 381 Delta November is a 26-year-old Boeing 737-800 painted in the SkyTeam livery. The flight will cover a distance of 741 miles, lasting just over 2 hours and 15 minutes.
Okay, we're on board. A little late. The crew didn't arrive until about 5:25 or so. Boarding was supposed to begin at 5:20, but the plane looks very clean. I overheard the pilot mention that there's no need for de-icing, so we should be out of here relatively quick and down to Atlanta for an on-time arrival.
Federal regulations prohibit the use of cellular networks during flight. The use of Wi-Fi to make video and voice calls is not allowed.
Boarding door is closed, and looks like we got an empty seat.
Right now,
After a quick taxi over to the active, we were on our way. Now that we're airborne, let's take a closer look at the seat. We'll start at the top, above your head, where you'll find a standard trio of air vents, lights, and a pair of call buttons. The seatbacks feature an IFE system, which I've shown on several of my previous flight reviews. Legroom in Comfort Plus gives you a bit extra wiggle room than a few rows back in economy, but it's not a significant improvement. There is a standard tray table that folds down and can extend. If you're tall, you probably won't be able to sit with your knees at a 90-degree angle with the tray table down. These ones are also showing their age. 2 universal power outlets are mounted on the seat posts in addition to the standard USB plug available on the IFE.
Well, the sun is rising, and the cabin crew began their in-flight services. I opted for a coffee with the obligatory Biscoff. They didn't seem too friendly this morning. I think they might have been stuck here, canceled flight yesterday. They weren't the most courteous. Either way, I was pretty hungry. Biscoff and the coffee will tie me over until I get to Atlanta, and I'm just enjoying the view looking out west of the sunrise and playing the Skyhopper game on Delta's Wi-Fi. Trying to earn some free Delta gift cards.
The only thing I got from playing the game was some entertainment during my flight. Apparently, some lucky players won a few Delta gift cards. I did also enjoy the SkyMiles facts that were displayed after I lost, but I didn't leave the Wi-Fi portal empty-handed and ended up giving Delta more money for a triplet of socks celebrating their centennial year. One of my favorite things to do in flight when Wi-Fi is available is look at Flight Radar 24 and figure out which aircraft I can spot. An Ethiopian Dreamliner was currently overtaking us on its way down to Atlanta. As we near the southern US and dip below the clouds, you might be wondering how much this flight cost. Well, the price for this flight was definitely not one I'm proud to share. At $520, this has been my most expensive flight in 2025 based on cost per mile, which equates to 70 cents per mile. Why was it so high? I had to change my reservation due to the weather the prior day, so had to pay last-minute ticket prices. I usually book at least 3 months in advance to avoid high fares like that, but it was only a matter of time before I ran into an issue like I did on this trip.
To Atlanta when the local time is 8:19. Please stay seated with your seatbelt fastened and carry on items stowed until the captain has turned off the seatbelt sign. Be careful when opening overhead bins to avoid injury from items that may have shifted during flight. And please ensure that you have all of your personal belongings before deplaning. As we reach our gate, we invite you to use the flight Delta app to report.
Alright, direct from the aircraft, we're airside again. No need to go through customs, and that's a pretty efficient way. Glad that that is available in Toronto. I don't know how many airports in Canada are like that, but pretty good benefit of having that system. Anyways, it's not the exact flight review that I was hoping to give you on the CYYZ, but it'll do. It was an experience with all that snow in Toronto. But until we get our next flight booked, I'm gonna take a breather here, get back to reality in Atlanta and work, and we'll see you in the next video. As always, thanks for watching. See ya.